What's up, YouTube? It's actually the same weekend as the last week's video, just started doing something else, so I figured I'd get some content. So I pulled out my bead roller, because what I'm doing... Where'd my little piece of metal go? I already lost it. Okay. There we go. Making a brace for the backside of these fenders, because you can see here I got this marked. This is approximately where the mounting location is for the bottom of the fenders. The brace was cut out with the old sheet metal. So I took and bent up. This is 16th steel, so not too thick, not really as thick as those, but doesn't need to be. Bent it up. So what I'd like to do is give it some strength. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out the bead roller and I'm going to bead in just a little curvature into it. It's going to strengthen it up a little bit. So I pulled out my other dies that I had for it, because these are flanging dies. Sorry, I'm not really prepared to do this, but you see that there's a step on it. So what it does is it creates a flange like that. I don't need these. So I'm going to pause it real quick while I grab the right dies, put them in here, and get it all set up. Okay, ignore the garbage on my workbench. So here I am, I'm set up with a bead die. So the lower section, you can see here, that little gap there. What it's going to do is create a bead inside this piece of steel, and I've just drawn a line on it, and I've got it oriented just right so that when I bead this, it's the right, beading it the right direction. So I'm going to just set the camera up so that you guys can kind of see this. It's going to be a little difficult because I need one hand to hold metal while I use my manual crank on the other. So I'm just going to set you up out of the way. I really should get a helmet mount or hat mount or something to do this with. So let's do that real quick. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. The screen's too small for me to see what's going on. One of these days I'm going to make myself a nice little handle for this, so I don't have to use a pair of start the other end. And do one full turn for it. We'll see how it comes out. That's not enough. So we're gonna go another full turn. See how that works. We're going to start out with that 2 turns. Give it a little pre-stretch. Come back, add another turn to it. And I should really be wearing gloves. Okay, that should be good enough to give it some strength. Now, let's see if the camera will pick it up. So you see it's got a little bit of warp to it because it's stretching the metal is what it's doing. It's creating that little detail here. But that's adding strength to this. So I should put it back in there and go all the way to the very edge. But I'm not going to. I'm just going to try and flatten this panel and get it to match up and fit it to my panel. I'll be back later when that's all done. Alright, so straighten it out. I also drilled my 1/4-inch holes for spot welding, and then laid on some weld-through primer on both this and the inside of the panel. I'm going to weld it in place because I know that this is going to cover my little spot here. See that there? Covers it right. Perfect. Then you can see it's got that bead to give it some strength. So I'm just going to spot weld that in real quick, and then when I get to fit this, I'll drill out that little spot wherever it lands. So that'll be part of everything else, and then I'll create a brace for that side too. Alright, I need to speed things up. I spent a whole month screwing around with that passenger fender, and it's done. I had a little snippets from last weekend where I was building the braces. They're burned in and ready to go. I just need to cut the holes where they're going to line up with the mounts on the car. So this is the driver's side fender, which I had worked on a couple of years ago. And you can see this metal wash, metal prep. It's a zinc phosphate to preserve it so it doesn't rust out, but you know, there's still a few spots where it did. So I'm going to do some corrections on this because I didn't do a perfect job on it, at least a job that I'm satisfied with by today. A couple of years ago I was satisfied with it. So I had talked about this before. This car's been in a few fender benders, and this was an area where it was mangled up. And when they changed the body color from the original sandalwood to red, there was extensive, body work on the car, which they actually did really well in that regards. And excuse the heater going off again. But this was old school repairs. You can see they used a slide hammer that drilled into the fender to pull out this dent. There's a couple of holes all the way around it. I never filled those. And, I hammer dollied this, but it's still not good. There's a lot of warpage here that I want to correct. Again, least amount of body filler as possible. Alright, I'm futzing with this now because if I get the body panel, if I get the fender in the right shape, it'll be easier to weld it and then correct everything at that point versus trying to weld something in at this point and then trying to body work or metal work the rest of this afterwards. So you can see here, there's a big old dent right here, right? And that's a hole. Well, if the camera can see that, there you go. Hole from where they use a slide hammer to pull out this dent, and then this is all kind of mangled. You can see here the shape of the side marker is all warped because that's where the impact was, and it warped this. So there's a high spot here, it's all shiny. Here's all high, here's a high. So this is all out of whack, and I got to correct that first so that when I put the patch in, it's all the right shape, and when it's burned, it is correct, versus burning it in now and having to body metal work it later and really chasing it. So fun stuff here. This is a fun one. It's figuring out what you need to attack first. So I'm gonna get this one out because it's easy and should fix some of this up here. All right, Cap, what the hell are you doing? All right, let me explain. So we're still on the driver's side fender. I metal finished the patch panel as best I could. I don't think I talked about the welding job that I did with the TIG welder, which when you TIG weld, you're supposed to spend a lot of time, you know, getting it right, making it look nice, and only using the appropriate amount of heat. My dumbass, I didn't even realize I was using too thick of filler wire. So when I was trying to get the filler wire to melt into the base layer, I had to put too much heat into it. And I really warped the crap out of these longer runs. So I had to spend a lot more time metal finishing. I just would have been better off just doing MIG because I'm so used to it. So I finally got it all metal finished, and then I'm looking at the panel and I'm like, there's a great big low spot right in here. You know, it looked nice. The metal finish was looking good. You know, there was still little spots where there was some dark areas and spots where, you know, I didn't get it perfect, but it was looking really good. You can, you know, look just like the other one. But then I realized from up in here all the way down to around here, this was all low. And I was trying my damnedest to do it with a hammer and dolly, and it was too big of a surface area. So I'm gonna see it in the time warp here. Trying to hold this whole big ass fender up and put it in the English wheel. But I did get it. I did get the profile back. Now I'm just fixing spots because the fender was it's so big and it's so heavy. Trying to hold it one-handed while you're, you know, trying to guide it in the English wheel, it was a royal pain. So what ended up happening is, you know, my arm would get tired, and I would drop the left side over here, and because I'm using a flat wheel, it would create a curve. It would create a crease right here. Now I'm trying to get it all out, and you can kind of see the I don't know if the light's helping or not, but you can kind of see there's these ripples in it going this way. And that's from, you know, dropping my left arm because I was getting really freaking tired. My belly wasn't big enough to keep it in place, but it is pretty big. But yeah, there's a nice one right here, and it goes pretty far down. And I'm trying to correct that because I don't want to have, you know, it's not a lot of filler, right? All right, guys, I'm gonna call it quits on this. I'm just chasing problems and making more work for myself here. So I got a few high spots I still need to knock down. I need to do a couple of metal corrections and metal finish on this, and then it's going to be about as good as I'm going to get it. I still have an excessive low spot right here. You can still see some of the dicom there. I can't get that out. It won't come. I might have to pull out my stud welder to use my slide hammer to see if I can't pull that back out, because it is, you don't really see it with the dicom, but it is a really still a good size low spot right there, and it would need probably a 1/4 inch of filler. That's too much. I don't like it, but I gotta pull out the stud welder and slide hammer and do some other work. I didn't show you my little mess up from when I put the Fender braces in. I don't even know if you're going to be able to see it with the lights being so dim in the garage, but you can kind of see the spot welds there. Well, it's got a little bit of a warpage, like right there. Excuse me. It's a little worse on this one. It's right there. So I got to correct some of that, even after I spent all that time correcting it. But you should be able to see for the back side here. That's the forward brace. There's the rear brace. I know it's kind of dark, but you can kind of see it there. So I got to pull out the stud welder and work it that way, just because the braces are in the way. I've also got to do some other work. I think I talked about this in a previous video, but I got a little bit of rust coming through my door panel, which really sucks because there's a patch over here. If I'd known it was crusty back in here, I would either did a bigger patch or probably saved myself time to just replace the whole door skin. I really should have done that to fix. There's about a dozen patches in this door. And then I've got to replace the outer cowl panels. This one's not too bad, the other one's worse, but you know, it's got some rust holes here, and you know, all the water comes in from the top and drips down. I'm just going to draw out the spot welds. Buy these panels, they're not very expensive, and they just real quick spot weld them in. But it's also nice because I'll be able to coat the inside easier and rust prevent it. That way water will drain down and not cause any more rust inside here. And then I've got to go over the whole car again to get rid of any surface rust that came on. And I got to do a little bit more metal correction on this quarter panel here, where I had a little accent, something hit the fender after I welded in a new panel. So I want to see if I can't fix that and get all that all steel or lead filler off of that area, and just have it more straight and metal. But I had the door open most of the day. It's actually 50 something degrees today, so I don't have a whole lot of time to be messing around with this. I can't spend another month and a half fixing the rest of this stuff. I've got to bump it into high gear. So that's going to wrap up this video. I probably won't show anything after this, at least Fender related. So thanks guys for watching. I appreciate it. Any questions, comments, you know, drop them below. Hit the like button, subscribe. I appreciate it. I'll catch you next time. Thanks.